Folks, welcome to yet another edition of the Double Tech Podcast. I am your host, Ethan Reisinga. And folks, today we are actually going to be without our beloved friend, Trent Bally. And there's a couple reasons for that. And I guess I'll just dive into that right away. A lot of big changes have been going on here in the Double Tech camp, as a matter of fact. I guess talking about myself first, I mean, obviously we haven't let another podcast go in a long time. I'd say it's been maybe a month and a half, 2 months. But regardless, we're here today after a few changes have gone on. So let me kind of explain the past month and a half what's been going on. I am finishing a master's degree here in Omaha, Nebraska. I've been picking up some extra shifts, trying to make some extra money. We're preparing for a move to Phoenix, Arizona. We're going back to Arizona. So a lot of things have been, a lot of moving parts, a lot of busy nights, a lot of busy days. The school year had ended. So that was another thing that was taking up a lot of time. And overall, it was kind of hard for me and Trent to find some time, at least for that time being. But, I wish Trent could be here to say his part, but basically, Trent is also going through another massive life change. He was in Florida for I want to say almost a year, and maybe I'm totally wrong about that. He was in Florida for a while, and he as well is picking up his things and moving back to Michigan. So he kind of explained it all to me over the phone, but he got another job in Michigan. And so in a matter of weeks, he had to get all of his things and move across the country, settle in, and then start this new job. So I can only imagine the amount of time that he really has to do something like this. He's got a day job. I believe he's working. I don't know it might be Bally Sports Detroit, might be the company, but he's working as a sportscaster for Detroit sports. He'll be working along Matt Shepard, who is a famous sportscaster and sports analyst out of Detroit, Michigan. So Trent's got a lot of big things coming his way. We basically got on a phone call and talked about the future of this show, because we know the people that listen to the show have been asking. They've been wondering when the next Double Tech was going to come out, and things are just going to look a little bit different now that things are kind of picking up. We want to give Trent some time to find his footing. We're making some changes here in the summer, and things are just going to get more busy. So we know that there's people out there that are listening, and we know there's people out there that are holding us accountable. And here I am. Here's this episode, and we're going to see how it goes. So it might just be me. It might just be me for a few episodes. I'm going to try my best to bring some guests on. As a matter of fact, we have a very special guest today, Mr. Ted Burchard. That interview will be coming later in this episode. A lot of cool stuff we talked about. He's a very interesting guy, a very passionate guy that cares about what he does. He cares about his community. He cares about his craft, and he is invested into the lives of others, which is awesome. So tune in, hear more about that interview later. But in the meantime, that's kind of, the I don't want to say the facade. That's the beginning of what I'm of the show. That is what we're going to talk about later with the interview with Ted. That's all the what's it called? The appetizer before the main entree, I guess you might want to call it. Without further ado, let's get into the Double Tech. And I guess I should preface this by saying we're going to keep some of the same elements from the time that me and Trent ran this together, but we're also going to make some changes as it was different with me and Trent. We could bounce off of each other. We could bounce ideas back and forth. But now that it's just me, I figure we can't really have much to go back and forth on. We loved asking questions. We loved doing drafts. We might get into some viewer questions at some point down the line. But I wanted to introduce a segment that I like. I kind of came up with this a little while ago, just about, being by myself and having something to talk about besides just the headlines and running down ESPN and thinking of the top bullet points or whatever. I thought it would be a good idea to introduce a segment called the Stoplight. So we got here's the stoplight. We got 3 lights. We got a red light, a yellow light, and a green light. Each light has a different significance. So with the red light, that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to talk about something that's all these are going to be either sports related or non-sports related. And they're going to be something. So the red light's going to be something that I'm like, oh, stop. We got to stop there. Right. Well, I don't want to see any more of this. I'm not bought in. The yellow light's something where it's like, it's a yellow light. You kind of want to slow down, proceed with caution. I don't really know how I feel about it. And then green light, and for those of you that hoop out there, green light is go ahead. You can shoot, you can do whatever you got to do. When you got the green light, you go. That's a good thing. So I'm going to start with the red light. Now, the red light for this week, this is something that I've been seeing lately because I've had a lot more time to watch daytime television. But I got to say, this is something that I enjoy playing. I love to play this sport. I do. I love the idea of this sport, but to televise it, I'm not in. And that is pickleball, my friends. If you play pickleball, this might be something where you're pretty upset at. But honestly, we can have an honest conversation about watching pickleball on TV. Okay? Again, I love to play pickleball. But as soon as we're watching it on TV, I don't know. I'm kind of just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's a fun sport, it's a fun lifetime sport. But when we start televising this stuff, it's kind of just it makes it less fun to me. I think it makes it less fun. It's one of those sports where you kind of just got to be there to play. An interesting parallel is like bags or cornhole, whatever you call it. I feel like bags/cornhole is extremely fun to play in person. The idea of playing bags is very fun. But, they televise it sometimes, and it's just not the same thing, right? You kind of feel a little awkward. You feel a little out of place watching it. You're essentially watching 4 grown adults, hit a wiffle ball back and forth, and we're televising. And the thing is, you got announcers for this, right? And I love a good announcer. I love a good, breakdown of the analytics. I love a good height and emotions, if you may. But with pickleball, it doesn't get that hype. It doesn't. It's a great sport to play, and it's just not a great sport to televise. And something that I am going to compare it to, I'm going to compare every single one of these lights to something that I see around me in the world. Something that I would compare televising pickleball to is mowing the lawn. To me, I love to mow the lawn. I love the idea of mowing the lawn. I think it's relaxing to go out there and, make straight lines. I think it's relaxing to work on something and have it look nice by the time you're done. But if I was watching somebody mow the lawn on TV, I think I would be a little uncomfortable because you get to a point where you're like, at the end of the day, I'm watching this person mow a lawn and I feel like I shouldn't, right? The idea of mowing the lawn is fun. The act of mowing the lawn is fun, but watching somebody mow the lawn, I'm out. Let me move on to my yellow light here. So again, this yellow light, this is something that I don't really know where I stand. And again, we're going to keep this in the sports realm here. Caitlin Clark was left off of the 2024 women's national basketball team to compete at the Summer Olympics this year. And to me, I don't really know where I stand on it. Because on one side, leaving her off the team, you could look at Team USA and say, listen, these women are the best at their craft, and they are essentially the top 12 or the top 10 players in the WNBA. And that is true. Okay. I don't think Caitlin Clark deserves a spot over any of those women. I think skill-wise, she still has some development. She's a rookie. So I don't think she's, necessarily better than any of those women. But on the other side, for those of you that watched her in college, this girl's a walking highlight. To have her on Team USA would be a massive marketing win for the United States overall. And for women's basketball, who lately have been pushing for more attendance, pushing for more, TV. They've been kind of vouching for this sport, saying, listen, we need to grow this women's basketball. We need to grow it, and we need to see it excel when you compare it to all these men's sports. And I think that's very true. Do I think Caitlin Clark being on that team would have an effect? Yes. I think you would get a lot more viewers, a lot more people bought into it. I don't necessarily think she needs to play, but just imagine like the fans that are now coming to watch anything that's associated with her, And I'm not saying she's better than any of those women. I'm just saying part of me thinks it might have been a good idea just from a marketing perspective. So again, I see both sides of this argument. I have not taken a stance. I'm not going to take a stance, but I just see both sides. Whatever happens is going to happen. A metaphor that I have for this, what can I compare this situation to? Mustard. I don't know where I stand with mustard. Do I think mustard is having an impact on the game of basketball like Caitlin Clark is? No, I don't think that. But mustard has an impact in the food community, okay? Because a lot of people are sitting here like, mustard is the best condiment. It goes on everything. But on my side, I'm like, I'll put it on a hot dog. I'll put it on a burger every once in a while. I love mustard with pretzels. I think a pretzel and mustard is a fantastic snack. But do I think it's up there with the upper echelon of condiments? Is it up there with the ketchups, the ranches, the barbecue sauces? Absolutely not. So to me, Caitlin Clark is a great example of what she does for the game of women's basketball and the controversy surrounding that to what mustard does for the food community. Could be some parallels there. Now let's talk about the green light. Who gets the green light this week? And I'll tell you about this guy. I'll tell you about who I'm about to talk about here. This guy's got a chokehold on the game, on the sport that he is in. He has had a chokehold on it for the past few years, and that man is Scottie Scheffler. This guy's a problem. This guy is a problem. He just coming off a win at the Memorial. We're getting into the U.S. Open this next week. All this guy, Scottie Scheffler, does is win. And if he doesn't win, he's in the top 5. And he's been doing this since about 2020. This guy goes out there on any given day and shoots below 70 all the time. And the thing is when you're watching him play, even the golf announcers are saying, like, when he's so at putting, he's still the favorite, right? When he's so at putting, he's the favorite. But when he's on at putting, he's got a 5-6 stroke lead. And Scottie Scheffler winning the Masters this year, again, just winning the Memorial. We're getting into another major this next week. But this guy, since I want to say around 2020, has been the best golfer out there. And I think by the time his reign is over, we're going to be talking about him in the ranks of the Tiger Woods, the Phil Mickelsons, the Jack Nicklauses, whoever it may be. Now, if I could compare Scottie Scheffler to another entity, when I think of this, I think of something that has had a chokehold in its respective category since 2020-ish. So as I pondered this, I was like, 2020, that was the year of COVID. What happened during COVID? What came out of that? And let me tell you something. There was a specific thing that came out. Maybe it didn't come out in 2020. Maybe it just exponentially grew in 2020. And I don't think it's lost any footing since then. And that's the application Zoom. Zoom came out maybe before 2020, but I heard about it in 2020 when COVID happened. And it was the first video calling service. And it felt like every single company, every single school, every single business, they were all logging on to Zoom to have their calls. And ever since COVID, I don't think any other video calling application, you talk about your Microsoft Teams, you talk about your Google Hangouts. I don't think Zoom has lost its fastball. I think Zoom is going to continue to hold its place as the #1 video calling application for the rest of time. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler will get older and probably join the Champions Tour, but Zoom's got it. Okay, and that's something that will be on the top for years to come. Whenever video calling stops being a thing, which I don't think it will, but whenever it does, that's when we will see Zoom's demise. But for now, I mean, think of it. Remote work started in 2020 or became popular in 2020, and that's basically all done through Zoom. When I think of, I'm a teacher, right? So I think of tutoring, remote tutoring sessions like IEP meetings, parent sessions, whatever it may be. This is all being done through Zoom. So to me, Scotty Scheffler has a hold on the golf game like Zoom has on the video calling conference game. And you can argue me on that. Well, folks, that's the stoplight. That's that's the inaugural stoplight. But we got an interview for you. And again, I want to keep the time that I'm talking, kind of shorter, more compact, more concise, because I really want to focus what the rest of this show may be in the future of this show on having guests on and getting to rattle some ideas, getting to hear their side of things. And folks, we're going to do just that with this interview with the Ted Burchard. Ted is a colleague of mine. He teaches math at the same school as I do. He's a basketball coach. He's an entrepreneur, if you may. He is the commissioner or co-commissioner of a men's rec league, the biggest men's rec league in the city of Omaha, Nebraska. And I really wonder if you could claim that it was the biggest men's rec league in the state of Nebraska, because Omaha is like the biggest city, the state of Nebraska. So Ted Burchard is the commissioner of the biggest, I'm just going to say it, the biggest men's rec basketball league in the state of Nebraska. And we are having him on here to talk about his journey. We're talking about some things that he's interested in life, getting to bounce some questions off of him, bounce some ideas off. And yeah, you're going to hear more about that in just a few seconds. But folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. And without further ado, let's head right on over to that interview. Peace. Introducing the Ted Burchard. Ted, who is a colleague of mine, or who was, I guess, a colleague of mine. He was a mentor, an opponent at times, and he's right here and he's with us today. Ted, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. It's my one day off of the week, and couldn't be more excited to join the Double Tech podcast.
I can hear the excitement in your voice. You sound absolutely thrilled. I used to think Ted was the most organized person in the world, but I'm coming to think that he's maybe not so much. Ted, comments?
Oh, come on. Well, my wife would tell you that I fooled her early on. Like, I had a spreadsheet of all of our bills because we bought a house pretty early on in our relationship, and I was like, oh yeah, this is when this bill's due, this bill's due, and then I didn't pay the gas, and they came and turned it off, and she's like,
Wow.
you motherfucker. So yeah. So I try to be, but I got my hands in
You do.
a lot of spots. So
You do have your hands in a lot of pots, and Ted, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on, because some of you might be thinking, like, this is a sports podcast. Why are we having Ted Burchard on the podcast? But
nothing
the
but
truth
sports,
is,
bro.
yeah, this guy's got his hands in a lot of different things, and sports is in fact one of those things. And we are going to get talking
Yes,
about
sir.
that. But first, Ted is a father of two. Okay. Ted is a very busy man. Ted's always working on things. He's always getting things done, preparing for the next stage. Ted,
Yep.
can you give me some insight into this off day right now? What does an off day mean to you as a parent and as a husband?
So anybody who already has kids, a big portion of it, probably 3 hours, was just laundry, putting laundry away for the boys, putting laundry away for mine, folding, doing all that stuff. And it's so much easier when the boys aren't here. This is the one day they go to daycare over the summer. Mowing the lawn, and then right before got on with you, I was pressing basketball jerseys for any new orders that came through. We put trophy patches for anybody who ends up winning the championship. So just
There we
wrapping
go.
up on those orders and catching up on league payments. So yeah, the grind never stops.
There are some days where I'm going about and like I get busy with things too, but then I'm like, I don't have kids. I'm not married. So how busy do I really think that I am right now? You know?
Yeah, no, you adapt. No, and like I remember I always filled time. Oh, I could do this also. I can do this also. So it feels like you're always busy, but then you end up prioritizing. You figure out what's got to be cut and what needs to get taken care of. So it's crazy.
hmm So, folks, like I said, me and Ted used to be colleagues, used to be as in this
He
last
left
year. We
me.
are,
He left
yeah,
me.
here we go. We are
It's too much
both,
for him.
we were both eighth grade middle school math teachers. He still is the department head. He must know a ton about math. And yeah, Anderson, shout out Anderson, shout out Harry Anderson Middle School right there out of Millard, Nebraska, or I guess Omaha. Millard is a
Yeah,
neighborhood of Omaha.
yeah.
But yes, now I am moving to Phoenix, Arizona, and in a sense, leaving Ted behind, as he would like to say. But
But no, I'm happy for you, and I can't wait to come down and golf with you.
yeah, yeah, allegedly. Let's wait till we get
We can't
closer.
even
That
figure
we
out a golf date in
yeah,
Omaha, let
we
alone
couldn't
get
figure out a
down to
golf date in
Arizona.
2 weeks, let alone a golf date
Yeah,
6 months from now. But
yeah.
we'll table it. We'll table it. So one of the things that striked me about Ted being a sports person, and Ted, I would love to hear your opinions on this, is first off, we've had lots of conversations about basketball, a lot about
Oh yeah.
NBA, and you've
Hmm.
come to tell me that your favorite team just so happens to be the Dallas Mavericks. And
Correct.
I wanted to start there because it seems like the one year that I get to know you and like I meet you, the Dallas Mavericks are now in the finals, and they haven't been in the finals since what, 2011?
11. Yeah. Yep.
And
So
they're
it's been a
back.
minute.
They're back, and they're down and they're down 0-2. And I guess I wanted to hear your perspective on it. How has their journey been throughout these past few seasons? And what do they have to do to come back from being down 0-2?
So first off, I've always been a Chicago Bulls fan. But I've always also been a Luca and Kyrie fan. So when they made that big trade for Kyrie last year, I was like, listen, the Chicago Bulls are a mess, they're always going to be my squad. But I kind of justified it. Listen, I love Kyrie, I love Luca. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to jump on this Dallas thing. I got receipts too, folks. I got receipts. I text a couple close buddies, my best friend included, be like, listen, I'm going to be a Dallas Mavericks fan. And then, of course, they went on that losing streak at the end of the year, didn't even make the playoffs. And it's like, okay, sticking to it. Sent another text. I have the receipts of saying I'm officially a Mavericks fan. And so it was fun. And then they made those trades in the middle of the season, and just dynamics for that squad is fun. So back to your question, being down 0-2, it's troublesome because they should have won game two with as bad as the Celtics had shot from the outside. But dang, they just have so many weapons, both on both sides of the floor. Uh, and I I hope, fingers are crossed, that if Celtics finish this off, I hope Drew Holiday is the Finals MVP. But
Yeah,
it's so hard because like they're so good everywhere, and they can make mismatches everywhere and get Dallas out of rotation so easily.
yeah.
Um, but I went back and watched some clips on YouTube, and I was just the whole game. I was feeling like, man, anytime Luca puts these passes just in the pocket for these guys, where you shouldn't be able to see them, but he does such a good job of court mapping, finds these guys, and they brick after brick after brick. And it's like, dang, they're not helping him. But then going back again, watching some of the clips, like, dang, he's getting torched on defense.
Yeah.
Luca can't stop nothing.
Uh-huh.
And you kind of knew that he was a defensive liability going into the series, but he just makes up so much on the offensive end.
He does.
And so if Dallas couldn't pull off, and go back to game one, besides the first quarter, like that was a 1 point game. Quarters 2 through 4, it was a 1 point game.
Right.
But you hear a lot like in the NBA, it's a first quarter league. Like you set the tone, you win that first quarter, you
Sure.
basically you can kind of dictate from there. And so after that first game, I was like, okay, yeah, this game's over with. Let's don't use too much energy. Let's focus on game two. And then the way they started off the game, it was great. I think they were winning at the end of the first quarter. Maybe it was tied, but I didn't think they were getting Luka wasn't getting enough help, and but at the end of the day, it's like, damn, he's getting torched on defense too. That
Yeah.
the Celtics are just solid, man. What do you think?
They are an extremely solid team, the Boston Celtics. And when I think back, for those of you that have been listening over the past few episodes, when I think back to when me and Trent first started talking about the NBA playoffs, we kind of made our picks and everything, but like in the back of our minds, we were like, Boston should win this entire
Should
thing.
yeah,
I feel
correct.
like the more we get along the line, the closer we get to the end of the NBA finals, the more apparent it's looked that Boston
Yeah,
is by far the best team in the NBA playoffs. And I feel like they've quietly been steamrolling everybody. Like,
right.
I feel like they're not like blowing every team out necessarily, but I'm watching these games against like Dallas, Indiana, and I'm just like, the other team doesn't really have a chance. Like,
Right.
if you want a team, if you want, like, let's say you wanted Dallas to beat Boston, you essentially, Dallas needs to play their best and Boston needs to play their worst the entirety
Correct.
of the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're
They,
just betting on that to happen, it's going to be rare.
yeah. And I saw some crazy stats. Basically, when you put up the statistics that Dallas has and where they're coming from, what gauntlet they went through
Mhm.
versus Boston, uh, I think in the same type of scenarios with using the same statistics, the Boston's of this uh, data comparison was they were 15-1 in the finals, and so it's like, damn, you know that Boston is going to win just based on the numbers, and of course, us being math teachers, we like to analyze that stuff. Um, but yeah, once they got smoked in game one, that first quarter really set the tone, and Porzingis coming back and like being just
Yeah.
an absolute dominator on both ends of the floor.
Yep.
And like in Kyrie, like think about all of the praise that Kyrie's gotten in these defensive playoffs and like leading up to the playoffs, even this whole season, like being able to mesh with Luca. All right, I'm going to take pride in my defense, and he's been great on defense, but they are actively looking to get switches on the Kyrie with Porzingis and any of the other bigs to just expose him. And he's been an elite guard defender. And Porzingis is just changing the dynamics of the series. And then you would throw in Drew Holiday's defense, White's defense, uh, Tatum, Jalen Brown. Like the list goes on and on.
Yeah. Even Al
Like
Horford does a
how?
really good job on
Yeah.
defense.
It's like how? I mean, how?
They're
How do
they're
you
an
beat these
extremely
guys?
deep team, and they're just well structured throughout. What's his name? Brad Stevens winning GM of the year, I believe. Is that
The,
correct?
yeah, the moves that I would believe it. I would absolutely believe it. Because and I'm not a Celtics fan at all, but you thought they had like a pretty good core, and then when they traded away Marcus Smart, they're like, oh dang, their chemistry it's gonna fall apart. It's like, no, they know what they're doing. They know what they're
Mhm.
doing. That squad, like the squad that they have, it shouldn't happen. And
Exactly.
Porzingis, like I want to go back to him real quick. Like he's been so impressive since coming off this injury, and he's had it kind of tough, like where he was supposed to be the man, injuries, getting traded away. Like he's been so impressive in just these 2 games.
Right.
It's gonna. I think it's gonna be enough of a difference. Like even without him, I think Boston still probably was going to win the series. But with him, it's
It's
almost like cheat. It's almost like cheat code.
yeah. It's wild to me that Kristaps used to be on the Mavericks and used to play with Luka.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
wild to me, and it's wild that that never panned out. I feel like that should have been a lot bigger of a problem for the rest of the league.
Yeah, I mean, Luka was still so young, and again, Porzingis was trying to figure out what his role was. Is he supposed to be the face of the franchise? Oh no, Luka's here now. Luka's definitely going to be the face of the franchise. Can he play the Robin role? And like, he's
Mhm.
not even playing the Robin role in Boston. Like,
Yeah.
is he Alfred?
Yeah, he's
Like,
like the third string.
God,
Even then,
is it?
sometimes, but I think that's the thing with Boston is that they have four guys that could potentially be the first string at any given night. And even
Correct,
Derek White,
correct.
I don't think Derek White truly gets enough credit for everything that he has done. Even leading up to the NBA Finals, like the guy is a baller. And he's
Yeah,
not even top 3 or 4 scorers on their
no,
team, but he can catch
yeah.
fire like the best of them.
Yeah, you wonder like in I'm not saying these are parallels, but like Jalen Brunson, who was on the Mavericks, and could he go carry a team? And like you could see what he's doing in New York, and too bad that he ended up getting injured. But like I don't ever see Derek White being that, but like for him to be in the role he's in with Boston, and I don't disagree. I don't think he gets enough credit, but I think he gets his
Wonder.
flowers. I really do, but I highly doubt Derek White could go replicate what Jalen Brunson has done. And like I said at the beginning, it's a super big parallel, but I think he gets enough flowers.
Yeah, and yeah, that's kind of the majority of what I was saying is it makes you wonder what some of these guys could do if they were the
Yeah,
spotlight role of a different team, you know? Because I
yeah.
know a team over in Michigan that's looking for some more guys. So Detroit Pistons, there's talks we might get Lauri Markkanen. There's talks, but I don't know. That guy I feel like floats around the league more than a boat, you know? So I don't really know.
So in like again being a lifelong Bulls fan, I was so excited for him to come on, and he just had just glimpses of hope. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Bouncing around, do you even hear about him? Maybe it's the markets that he's in, but yeah.
Ted, is there anybody through this is actually a curious question here. Is there anybody through like your time of being an NBA fan where they got drafted or whatever, an international player, and you were like, they are gonna be the next guy, and then they just weren't?
Ooh.
For me, that was Michael Carter Williams out of Syracuse.
Oh, and then he got rookie of the year and then fell off from there. But
Yeah.
I okay, so that kind of goes back to the point where with White, it's like, okay, based on opportunity, based on scheme, based on the players around you, he was set up for success. But then when more was put on his plate, and I can't remember if there was injuries involved too, and there might have been, but like he fell off the face of the earth.
Hmm.
Um, so dang, that's a really good question. Somebody I was super hyped for. Okay, I got one, and it's still TBD, but Zion.
Oh
So
yeah.
so I had a bet with one of the guys in the Bill League, one of the captains for us. I bet that he would make the All Star 3 out of the first 5 years, and the bet was um, he'd either have to buy me a signed Zion jersey, but if Zion didn't make the All Star team 3 out of the first 5 years, then I'd have to get his face tatted on my ass or something. Like it was
Oh
something
my.
ridiculous. Like we were just out
Yeah.
having drinks and
Yeah.
just messing around. And but because of injuries, like we threw in some different clauses, so it's been extended. It's extended.
Yeah.
But like if that dude's healthy, and of course his big argument is, dude, he's too fat. He's gonna get hurt, and he's not gonna have the
He's trimmed
longevity.
down. He's trimmed down though,
Yeah.
slightly.
And then, oh man, that opening series with him,
Yeah.
and God, he was so good. And then after he was dominating, got hurt. Oh man, that was devastating. But that's basically kind of
It
what his
gives you that
career has
glimpse of
been.
what he's capable of.
Right. So that's going to be my answer, even though like number one overall pick, it should, you know, it just yeah didn't pan out. Not yet, but it's TBD, TBD, and
TBD.
and there was no like handshake or anything like that. I'm not getting a tattoo on my rear end.
Okay.
Can't do it.
Well,
Can't do it.
we'll still hold you to it regardless. The double tech
Yeah.
faithful here. Um, so another. thing about Ted, for those of you that didn't know, he's also a basketball coach, the basketball coach of the 8th grade, or I guess the varsity,
Seventh and eighth, yeah, varsity at the middle school,
the
big
middle
time.
school varsity basketball team, 7th and 8th graders. And Ted, for those of you that don't know him, he gets really into it. He loves doing it. And Ted, I wanted to ask you, because I'm going to kind of take a little part of this question a little bit. Is there any coach that you feel like you model your coaching style off of? Like
Oh man,
for me, I'll start. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. I came up
where
with this
from?
question. Blanking on his name. Villanova head coach. He's not there anymore.
Oh, Jay Wright, Jay Wright.
Jay Wright. I was gonna
Yep.
say Jay Billis, and it's not Jay Billis. Jay Wright. Yes,
Jay
Jay
Billis is
Wright.
a
I
pretty
like
good
watch
basketball
all
mind
of
too,
his
though.
stuff on. I watch all of his stuff, and I look up Villanova out of bounds plays. I'll listen to him talk at conferences and stuff. Jay Wright is somebody that I personally model my coaching style off of, and because when you look at the Villanova teams of the late 2010s moving into the 2020s, they were always getting into the March Madness and always making runs. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
But what is that coach for you if you have
Okay.
one?
Yeah. So as soon as you asked, and I wish you would have prepped me on that one, uh, like, cause I came over to Anderson and they had offered me the job right away because they knew I had a background with basketball, but I had never coached before. So I was just kind of excited, but I didn't know what the
Mm,
talent level would be like. It's not like I went to these AAU tournaments. I didn't know what the skill level was going to be. I didn't know how much coaching would actually need to be installed, like what kind of offense, defense. So, really, to answer your question, I suppose I would go with Coach Lucian, who's actually South head coach, and that's
yeah,
the high school that our kids funnel into. And so, because I didn't have a baseline, I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to coach. I love basketball. Let's just see what it is. But I didn't have an offensive identity. I didn't have a defensive identity. All I knew was, hey, we're gonna hustle. We're gonna bust our chops
yeah.
and have fun while doing it. And so
Was that a
realizing,
conversation that you and Coach Lucian had? Like, how do you want me to run these guys?
correct, correct, yep. So I was basically like, hey, what's your offensive philosophy? Well, what are the sets that you run? Is there anything that you want me to be working on with them? And
Yeah,
his big thing was, hey, just get the skill development done. And so that's what we spent a lot of our practices on is just skill development. And this past year, I was actually on paternity leave with my son, and so I spent a lot of time like coming up with drills and trying
yeah.
to maximize. All right, with this kid or this group of kids, I want them working on this for the first 15 minutes, and then they're going to transition to this, but they need this skilled these skilled guys over here, combining bigs with guards and so forth. And like I was manipulating all of our practices to in order to maximize on that skill development. But
Sure.
going back to my first year coaching, it was all right. I'm just going to try to run what he has, and the biggest difference between the two seasons that I had, my very first year, I had some high IQ basketball players, and I would teach you once, and they would know, and they'd be good to go. And uh, truly, I feel like three coaches on the floor just at all times, and so it was. I was like, oh, this coaching thing is pretty easy. As where this past year, I had some I had some great ball players, um, but they all play on different club teams, and
Yeah,
so their mindsets were different. And I didn't have like I had again great ball players. I had some high IQ guys, but not collectively, and there
yeah,
wasn't that same chemistry. So as where I kind of walked into it this year, thinking, oh yeah, it should feel the same. I should be able to give the same coaching. All right, hey, we're going to install this press in these situations. We're going to install this press during these situations. We're going to run this out of bounds play in this scenario. I could tell that to my first year guys, and they would know it. They would pick up on it, and we would just roll with it. And I would be able to install more and more and more as the season went on. And
right.
then this past season, it was holy crap, you guys forgot that already? Yeah, and like uh and part of it, a huge part of it's still on me, but if you have one guy, out of line, then out of
Yep.
rotation, then it screws up the rest of it. So
Mm.
it's just
It's probably a big turnover
picking up a
going
lot
from
of
that
little things.
year.
Yeah, and trying to find the right mix. But I loved my boys both years, and yeah, I think I just probably say my coaching philosophies and the thing I want to instill in just a 2 month season. It's a short season.
Yeah.
It's still under development. It's another
Yeah, it seems like
DVD.
it's pretty organic, Ted. Like it seems like you kind of have found a lot of these things that you kind of pulled from a lot of different baskets, if you
Yeah,
may. And
yeah. And so there wasn't like one specific coach or philosophy because I was still trying to because it's different. I played basketball my entire life, run a basketball organization, but coaching is completely different. And so it's been fun. The journey has been really fun.
yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I actually wanted to move right into, you just mentioned it. You mentioned it a couple times throughout this show. Ted is the commissioner. I don't know what you want to call it, president, CEO of
Well,
the
let's stick with
Bill
commissioner.
commissioner of the Bill Basketball League. And Ted, I kind of want to just hear about this, okay? Because I know what it is, but there's a lot of folks out there that might not. So tell us about the Bill. Tell us about the
Yeah.
league.
It's a loaded question. We started it 7 years ago. My co-commissioner Andrew Jones. We both have a passion for basketball, but prior to that, I was a co-commissioner of the previous draft league, and so that's what this is. It's a recreational league where you have to be in the draft pool. There's 96 guys. There's 16 captains, so there's 80 draftable assets and the each of the rounds, it's not like it's a snake draft. It's they all have their own unique things that captains have voted on over the years, and so we got a very unique setup where we end up having families come out to the draft, and a lot of the players come out and have a lot of fun with that. It's like for a lot of guys, the draft, much like fantasy football, it's like this is the most exciting part of the season is the draft and then analyzing the rosters. Oh, this matchup's going to be a really tough one for this. We will take surveys from the community. All right, rank the teams how you think they are, and that's how we end up developing our divisions. Try to make it as much parity as possible. But we take it pretty serious, and I'm telling you, like a lot of people have bought in. We even have Bill wives shirts. So because the wives, the girlfriends, they know Wednesday night is all about the Bill, and we get plenty of eye rolls from those ladies too. But we are very grateful that they allow their husbands or boyfriends to come hoop. And then I hear, and one personally, they're like, "Oh no, I needed him out of the house for a couple hours, so go ahead, keep him." But so yeah, it's a recreational league. We go 10 weeks, 10 regular season weeks. The first 3 weeks are kind of like the preseason. You play three teams out of your division, and then you kind of build some chemistry. And then the following 7 weeks, you play everybody within your division, and then it becomes a 16 team playoff from there. And after the first couple weeks, or after the first week, half the teams get eliminated, and then what we do is we have a little over 400 names on our wait list to get into the league. But realistically, like Andrew and I talk about this every month or so, we try to clean up our wait list. Realistically, we've been in touch with around 200 guys that are ready to jump in. And so what happens is so like somebody, let's say a fourth round big goes down with injury or they're moving. Uh, their wife says, you know what, this ain't working. You can't play anymore. Whatever the case may be. We can go to that wait list and be like, all right, this guy's probably between late third, early fifth. Let's put him on the list. All right, this guy, he's probably closer to a fifth round guy, but he's got potential to be a fourth round guy. He's got plenty of size. Obviously, he would be a good rebounder, and on this particular team, he would fit in well because They already have shooting. They just need a big that can rebound. And so what we ended up doing, we going through our list, and this is where it's a luxury to have that many guys on the wait list. We give the captains, whoever the captain of that team is, we give them 3 to 5 names. All right, here's the guy, here's their draft profile, here's their player profile. Which one do you want? Captains usually go to their team. Hey, here are the names. A couple times, just playing pickup at other gyms in the city, or they play in another league together, or whatever. Some guys are like, oh hell yes, pick him up, or oh hell no, don't pick him up. No, he's not a fit. And so and then of course, like that's a
It's
luxury for
competitive.
us. That's a luxury for us when like trying to find a good replacement, as opposed to it's not just a wait list. Like, hey, I've been on the wait list for 5 years, I'm the
Yeah.
next one up. But if you're a first round guard and we have to replace a fourth round big, bro, you're not coming in. That's not
Yeah.
logistically or common sense gonna help the flow with the flow of our league. So
Exactly.
uh, so and then we get plenty of messages where, bro, I gotta be up now. I gotta be up now. This last session, we had a guy who literally had a torn MCL, torn, but he kept playing because he didn't want to lose his spot in the bill. And
Oh my
so
God.
this last session, we only had one turnover. Like we only had one guy step out, and so we brought one player in. It's hard. So, and
Sounds
it's
like
every 4 months. So
it sounds like to me, Ted, we need to establish a farm system. It sounds
yes,
like we need
starting
to
in
create.
Arizona.
No, well, look, I'm talking about 400 guys on a wait list.
Yeah,
Let's model after European soccer, where players get relegated and then they come up through the farm system. I think we can establish a whole nother league.
yeah,
Don't you think?
yeah.
Obviously, that'd
And
be a bunch of time, but you could really make a business out of this, Ted. And I guess that kind
well,
of leads into my next question is like,
yeah,
where do you see this going? Like, what is your vision for this?
yeah,
Or it could just be like, hey, we're a men's league and we're here to have fun. And like that's it. We're gonna create a sound product. And then whatever happens after that happens. Or do you
yeah.
have like these big ideas that you want to do this one day and you want to expand or whatever?
Yeah, sure. And I think this is just like a life thing. You should always want to evolve. You should always want to grow. You should always want to continue to improve on things. And that's what we've done over the past 7 years. Um, so, kind of piggybacking off your idea, I recently sent out a survey to the guys in the league now, and I'm going to make it public and send it out to everybody that's on the wait list. Essentially, we're going to start a second or a branched off league. It's going to be called the Bill Bold, the ballers who are old. So you have to be at least 30 years old to be able to be eligible. And a huge part of the league is just building community and like us. The league start off as Ball is Life League. That's the bill. That's the acronym bill. But then it's evolved into Brothers in Life. So still Bill, but we were building this brotherhood through the commonality of our passion for basketball. And so with this Ballers who are old, it would be an opportunity for some of those waitlist guys, as long as they were 30 years old or older, they could join in. But within this survey that I have, and maybe we can end up putting a link in your description. Um, Basically, they would fill out, hey, I would like to be in the Bill Elite, which is what we have now, but I'm definitely interested in starting off in the Bill Bold just to start playing. And a huge part of us making this work, making the logistics work, is having it on the same night, same facility. So even if you were in the Bill Elite and you decided, hey, I want to go to the Bill Bold, I'm getting a little older. Some of the new cats are just too young, too dynamic. I still want to feel like I'm having a bigger piece of the pie. Let me go join this other league. But a huge part of it is having that brotherhood and being together, and not creating two separate leagues, but still having the the whole Bill League community still together same night. And so whether that means we have to expand an hour or if we start renting out the other courts. But then there's logistics with that too. Uh, Obviously, getting more additional referees, having stat keepers, things of that nature. So that's part of it. That's the short term goal. And then eventually, you asked about kind of the vision for the league, because I'm passionate about it, because I've seen how we have evolved. We just went from a draft league, hey, I just want to ball out, to building relationships. We have a community page. We get questions, hey, is there anybody that does concrete in the league? I want to reach out to them. Do we have a real estate agent? Oh yeah, one of the guys' wives is a real estate agent. Here's their contact information. Hey, I need some work done on my siding on my house. Is there anybody that's in the Bill League that we could reach out to? So there's been this brotherhood, this trust that has been formed, and that's part of that evolution of what we've done. We just went from, hey, we just want to play basketball, to, hey, this is more than basketball now. This is building a family. And I refer to on social media all the time, Bill fam. And we have fans that come out. The team that just won the championship, like they had 40 people there to watch the championship game. So it was
Crazy.
really cool just to see that. And one of the opposing players, after they had lost, it was like, "Can you tell that dad to shut up?" I'm like, "Say he's just here supporting his son. He loves it. They're
Yeah.
passionate, and because they care, it makes it more valuable. But if these guys didn't care about it, they were just like, "Oh yeah, I just came here for exercise." That's something different. But they care about the product, and at the end of the day, give bro hugs and congratulate one another, and moving on. So again, to get back to your question one more time, I would like to continue to expand it. I would love one day to have a Bill Junior. So we have for teens or even preteens league.
Even like a
Um,
club team. I feel like you could get a
yeah,
club team going, and like a youth program.
Yep, yep. Would love to have a lady bill. And so our next episode of Ball is Live, I'm going to have Marquise Hayes on, and she has been developing women's basketball here in Omaha big time, and like she is dynamic, and so we're going to be able to talk about what she's done in developing basketball within the city of Omaha, and then hopefully could partner with her in having a subdivision with Lady Bill. So yeah, there's a lot of big goals. But again, like I said at the beginning of this, it's all about the evolution. And if you're not looking to grow, if you're not looking to improve on your product, then what are you doing? So,
Exactly.
but of course, I'm also fighting father time, so I do need to establish that Bill Bold sooner
Exactly.
rather than later. So
And you talked about father time. You talked about how busy you are, and I don't want to keep you for much longer. Okay, we said about 30-ish minutes. I'm going to ask you one more question before I let you go, because I feel like one of the words that just pops into my mind from this whole interview is just organic. Like, I feel like everything you've done, you've kind of come up with, you've built from the ground up in a way. You've made a name for yourself in the city of Omaha. But I guess the last question I want to leave you with before we say goodbye to Mr. Birch here, what inspired you to make the Bill League? What inspired you to be where you're at right now? What was your journey like? And like, wherever you're at right now in life, how do you feel like, what forces allowed you to be where you're at right now?
sure. Talked about the evolution of the league when there was some controversy within social media during COVID, like so much divide, um, that these narratives are just being driven into people's heads, and depending on what network you watched, you got further and further away from the mean. And so a big part of just who I am as a person, based on uh, my parents who raised me, they instilled a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy, trying to help others be the best versions of themselves. I've always taken that from my folks, and so when having the opportunity to have this basketball league, It's like, let's make it more than basketball. Let's make sure that we are taking care of each other. Let's make sure we are supporting one another. I talked about the community page. We unfortunately had one of our guys get into a car accident a couple weeks ago, and he's no longer able to play, at least not for the next few months. And so, reaching out to just the captains, hey, here's a meal train. Uh, you know, take it if you want, but we would like you to take on this leadership role and communicate with the guys on your own team. I'm not going to put a blast out on social media saying, hey, this is what happened. Go support, like make it more within the family. We take care of it. And so captains ended up reaching out to their teams and trying to support this guy and his family because they are Bill fam. And so I think that's just the element that Andrew and I are really proud of. And again, we have plenty of guys that say, hey, I want to be a captain. I want to be a captain. But you haven't shown that you have the leadership skills. Like, you want to be a captain so that way you can draft your team to where you can elevate yourself as an individual. Like, I'm going to get more shots, so I'm going to build the team around me, as opposed to we pick our captains based on, have you shown this compassion? Have you shown this empathy for others? Have you shown that it's more than basketball? This is a brotherhood, and you're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that we're taking care of one another. And so we put a lot on our captains, and we're very, very grateful. But that's what it's about, the evolution and taking care of each other. And so it's more than basketball now. The only reason we got together in the first place was because we all loved basketball, and so we want to make it bigger than the game, and it has become that. And so I'm very, very grateful.
And the Brothers in Life community, the Bill fam. So
that's awesome,
I
man.
appreciate you asking that question.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. I mean, I obviously have been in Omaha for 1 year, and I feel like I haven't gotten to witness the growth of the league and like the purpose of why it was created. And I've just kind of gotten to hear other people talk about it. And just from what I've seen and what I've heard, it's so surprising to me. I guess not even surprising. It's just kind of shocked me a little bit at how invested the community was and how invested all of these guys were. Like, and if you're listening, let me tell you a story, folks. If you're listening and you might just be sitting there like, this is just another men's league, whatever. When I showed up to draft night, I didn't really know what to expect. And they had an entire top floor of this brand new sports bar rented out. And in the studio of where they filmed this like top tier show for the sports bar is all the captains, and they have a big board, and they have like
the entire wall. Yeah.
There's like 50 to 100 people here just like hanging out, getting ready for draft night. And it's serious, and they take it very seriously there. And you obviously you can look at it from two angles. You could say, oh, these old guys, what are they doing? This is so dumb. But like, in my opinion, that's the immature angle to take. On the other side, you look at it like, wow, they really care about this. And just to have something that you have hope in and that you want to see succeed is a win in itself. And I think when you get a group of guys coming together like that, a group of ladies, if Lady Bill down the line
would love to have Lady Bill. Yeah.
When you get a group of people that are like-minded like that, amazing things can happen. And it sounds like, from the sound of it, that you guys have been establishing a lot of those amazing things, and that's really cool to see.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I mean, we're rounding up 40 minutes here, but I just wanted to say, man, thanks for coming on. Is there anything you wanted to close with? Is there any final quotes you wanted to have before you head off and probably do the rest of your free dad day here?
More laundry. There's more laundry. But yeah, I didn't know if we were going to end up talking about school at all. But I just wanted you to know that you were a phenomenal teacher. And I know some of your students end up listening to the podcast. They were very lucky to have you. You were a super dope dude, seriously. And you made my job as the mentor super ridiculously easy. I'm proud of you for everything that you accomplished in your year. You came and helped at several basketball practices. Like you're a good dude, and for you to have this ambition to start this podcast, I hope it really takes off, man. And I'll support you in whatever way possible. But you have fresh ideas. You're a go-getter, and I'm really proud of you.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, Ted. That really means a lot coming from you, and I appreciate you lending your time. This is obviously not the last time we're ever going to speak to each other. I mean, come on, we just like you said, we made these lasting relationships. So
yeah, exactly.
More to come from Ted. Maybe we'll have him on for another show at some point down the line.
Can't wait for the Bill League in Arizona.
Yeah, apparently there's a Bill League startup coming along. More to come with that.
Yep.
Folks, this has been yet another edition of the Double Tech Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you later. Peace.
See ya.